homeless guy was trying to put a spell on me, but I think he was just waving.
The following film is intended for mature audiences and contains adult content, graphic language, graphic violence, nudity, and strong sexual content. Viewer discretion is advised. We'll leave it up to you, but you gotta know about this stuff before getting into this whole thing, you know? I mean, straight up, one guy gets his face bitten off by a raccoon, and we show it. Oh man, do we show it.
I don't need this and I don't mind. This happens to me all the time. Until tomorrow, till we forget. I live for tomorrow with no regret.
Alright, y'all, he's Big Duke. And he's Cool.
And he's Kegs. What's up, gentlemen?
How's it going? Oh, you know, all of the fun stuff. Sounds like Dukey's trying to remember how to do backlash. Yeah.
So Dukey's underneath his Bronco, or underneath the Bronco again tonight, trying to get some stuff fixed.
Metal.
And obviously Kegs made it to where Kegs does his kegs from. So I guess
I'm still in transit, but I did brakes on the wife's piece of shit Ridgeline the weekend. That was enjoyable.
At least you got to see the wife.
Also, never do a CV shaft on one of them, especially on the passenger side. Major pain in the ass. Just a little FYI for everybody.
CV shaft. Well, who do we got on tonight?
We have a senior member of the WD squad. I'm gonna heavy enunciate that because I totally fucked it up earlier, and I don't want to do that again. We have the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Surfratt. How are you doing this evening, sir?
Doing good.
Welcome to the podcast, buddy.
And so we actually started recording this a little late for everyone. I'm not going to lie. We might have to ask Surf a couple of questions again because I jumped the gun. You can blame me. This is Kegs talking for all of you who haven't figured it out yet.
That's what happens when you have real conversations, so... You know.
Yeah. We were having a little heart to heart, I guess you could say. So, Surf, I'm going to apologize that you might have to answer that stuff again twice. I get excited.
That's okay.
Well,
and also, thank you for taking the time from. I hear you were at a family gathering tonight to talk with us, so we appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yes, well, as Bruce can tell you, I got quite a family, so I'm always at a family gathering.
He has one of the most beautiful families. They go out and shoot guns at the range together. Gorgeous
that sounds
family.
Like that. Family that shoots together, it stays together.
Not just
right?
one or two. I'm talking like 12 of them, and I'm talking babies out there with earmuffs on, like little babies. It's amazing.
Yeah,
way she goes, bud.
Yeah, we only have to go like a mile up the road from my house. And, we had my son came down. He lives up by Salt Lake, and he came down for the weekend with his brand new shotgun. And he brought his AR-15 and a bunch of handguns. I had my 45, and a couple of my other son-in-laws came out with their guns.
Full tables were popped up, tents. No joke. No joke. These
sounds like so. How often do you guys do this, and when do I need to book a plane ticket?
Well, we do it like a couple times a year, where we just get together and shoot. My son called me up last week and said, "Dad, I'm gonna be down this weekend. Let's go shooting." I'm like, "All right, let's go." So it was his birthday week. His birthday was on the 11th, and so he came down that weekend. And we went out and did a little shooting, and just kind of a last minute throw it together. And, I had
nothing wrong with that.
Babies. So as Breeze knows, I got 8 daughters, 1 son. I got a niece that I raised, and I got almost 20 grandkids. So
yeah. I'm telling you, boys, like, I wasn't exaggerating with 12. I was probably lowballing it. Yeah.
Estrogen. I apologize for you're a minority, sir.
Yeah, but I got some really good son-in-laws, man. I do. Two of them
That's a
actually
plus.
work for me.
Well, I'll tell you what, buddy.
That's a big plus.
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Let me tell you all this. We almost had a little Mission Impossible kind of spy game. We had a plan to get him out of the party just in case. So, and luckily we didn't have to pull that trick. But I thought that was, I mean, that's amazing. I wish my family was involved.
That sounds awesome. Now here's the big question though. Does your son is your son still learning, or can he outshoot you now?
Oh, he's been able to outshoot me for a long time.
Oh no, I was hoping to hear that he was still on the baby range.
No, he's 34.
Yeah, I was going to ask you though, what happens when your sons and stuff find this channel?
Don't matter.
Oh, my son-in-law, they know about this. My wife she was just getting some stuff out of the truck. As we went rock hounding yesterday. My wife's kind of got into that. And, as a matter of fact, I posted on the WD website, Discord page, pictures from Brian Head Mountain. That was 11,300 feet. And I took pictures of the whole area.
I think I've seen that. Yeah, with the grandkids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I did have two of my grandsons were there. They were rock hounding with my wife, and she found a lot of really nice agates. And now they're all sitting around the front yard in chairs, going through the agates.
And you're on a podcast.
Yeah, I'm on a podcast. So that's fine by me because I don't care about the rocks.
It's just my wife and stepkids are big into rocks. Seems like everywhere we go, someone picks up a rock or 20. I still have like 15 scattered around my truck from the last trip we took it on.
Well,
we get so in our area in southern Utah and basically the whole western state of Utah has some very unique rocks. And where we were, I live right next to Zion National Park, but you got the geode beds up in Dugway. You got, just really rare rocks. And for some reason, my wife decided she was going to get into the rock thing, so
that's really
I bought
cool,
her a bunch of stuff, and she loves it, and I deal with it. So
well, my thing is you have such a beautiful family. There must be a reason. So let's can we explain to everybody first of all that you are a veteran, and
I am.
We want to thank you for your service.
Definitely want to do that.
Absolutely.
Well,
you want to talk a little bit about your military career?
Well, the name Surfratt actually comes from my military career.
Okay.
So when I first joined the Army in '87, I was a radio teletype operator, RAT, R-A-T-T, and grew up a California surfer, and I was stationed in Hawaii, 25th Infantry Division, and as a radio operator, it's kind of towards the end of the AM radio operators getting phased out. They're getting rid of the radio teletypes. So we didn't have a whole heck of a lot to do towards I'd say it was my second year in the Army. So the AM radios voice isn't encrypted, only teletype's encrypted. And we would get on there and we would just kind of joke around at night because we were bored stiff. We'd actually, from Hawaii, be talking to radio boats in the Gulf of Mexico. So we were, constantly doing this. Well, we'd get in trouble if they knew what our call signs were because you're not allowed to do that.
Trolling before the internet was born, bitches.
Right, exactly.
Much respect to you, sir.
Well, we
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, we had to come up with call signs. So in my unit, we had Beaker, Bush Rat, and Thumper, Haku, and then I was Surfratt. And few others, and the radio boat guys down in the Gulf of Mexico, there are Army radio boats all over the Gulf of Mexico. They came up with their call sign. So at night, we'd get really good signal. And we would just talk back and forth and using those, handles. And military intelligence come out to the battalion. Hey, who's Beaker? Who's Surfratt? I don't know.
I don't know what that is.
They're trying to bust us.
Yeah.
And, later, after they basically phased out our MLS, nobody cared anymore. So,
So when you say you were running AM,
yes,
that would have been on the same wavelength as like the Citizen Band radio, then, right?
yeah, it's the same. So it'd be the same as Mars, or the Mars stations. So if you're a ham radio operator, you operate in a certain frequency band range, and then the AM radio operators were just outside that band range. And even though I had Morse code, I failed the ham radio test on the question for ohms. Growing up as an electrician's son, I should have passed that. But anyhow,
That's what Duke does for a living,
I could
actually.
have worked ham radio for the military too, but
Yeah.
I was Morse code and teletype.
That's pretty
Right, because
fantastic.
Channel 19's like on the CB is like 27.180 something, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, it's now CB's in the civilian band range. We were operating at a lot lower frequencies. So, like I said, I could talk halfway around the world on a whip antenna.
That's impressive.
With the 106 radio. I didn't even need a relay. I mean, we practiced with relays and stuff like that, but if atmospheric conditions were good enough,
Right, you're
like I
essentially
said,
hitting a skip, just like on a Citizen Band.
Oh yeah. But here I'm talking from Oahu, Hawaii, to a boat smack in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. I even talked to some guys down in Australia through AM radio.
And all they had to
Just
say
all
is
with-
hydration session. Anyway, sorry. At that time, they
Well,
were
and
getting
that's
ready
like
for
so-
the... Oh, go ahead.
Now
Sorry,
I know
guys.
where my tech at.
What's up?
I now know where my pawpaw, my granddad, got his tech from. He had CB stuff set up. He could talk. He was talking to people from Australia in his truck and on his three-wheeler. Heck, he could talk to people in Europe on a three-wheeler.
So, was it CB or ham radio?
This was CB, but he didn't have no boosters on it. He had something I had never seen before, and I never could figure out what they were.
Well, so with the AM frequency, it bounces off the skyline. So there's really no limit how far that signal will go if you're on the right frequency. If you have the right antenna, you can get that signal to really go.
Right, well, that's why a lot of long distance CB enthusiasts they use that lower sideband because it's that lower frequency. It travels farther.
Yeah, and that's what we were single sideband. So AM
Right.
AM radio is single sideband.
Okay.
And so yeah, we can really get that
Yeah.
signal to really go. And I was also a tactical satellite operator. So when when Mount Pinatubo erupted, I got sent down there and ended up working in the embassy. And what a lot of people don't know is the ambassador down there was Ambassador Platt. His son is Oliver Platt, the actor. And I tell you what, man, that ambassador was the nicest guy I'd ever met. He was so cool. And, here I was the lowest ranking guy in the task force, working in the embassy, just having a blast, and the ambassador come in and sit down and talk to me for an hour or so. It was a real down-to-earth guy, man. It was really cool.
That does sound really cool.
It was. It really was. You know, I've got to do a lot of unique stuff. I stood guard post 1 in the embassy as Army, which is guarded by Marines. So I even have my hat says Marine Detachment, American Embassy, Manila. So it's kind of some fun stuff, you know, all those years in the military. And
Well, let me tell you something, man.
I miss it, man.
Surf, I'm so glad that you were able to come on short notice.
Yeah, no problem.
Dude, for real. And it's funny because I even told the guys, long or the short, Surf is like, he didn't think he was an interesting person. And we're just kind of touching the tip of the iceberg. But, like, yeah, buddy. I told you, you've lived a life, like, you were telling us about your family, and what they ended up doing. So, friends, yeah. Some of the stuff, let me ask you this, is there anything, how much stuff that you know that you still can't talk about, like NDA classified stuff? A lot?
There's stuff that I could probably talk about. I just really don't want the NSA knocking on my door.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't either.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably on many lists, but it's okay. That's a joke.
And that's like, so did you ever make the transition from AM band to FM band with ham radio? Like your 10 meter and whatnot?
I'd helped out, you know, in the operations center, which is all FM. But then we went over to SINGARS, which was signal, ground, air, and that's FM, but it's frequency hopping, so it could bounce 10,000 frequencies a second. So you're actually secure on voice, and
right.
We had to be trained in that. And as a Fort observer, that was like a big part of that training was the SINGARS. But I'm trained because I went over and became a multi-systems or multi-channel radio systems operator. So I'm trained in UHF, SHF, VHF, CW, which is current continuous wave, which we had to use for Morse code, FM, AM, and satellite, because I was a TACSAT operator as well. That was kind of secondary. It wasn't actually my MOS, but it was kind of a secondary thing. So I did TACSAT as both a forward observer and as communications in the military. And then I trained a lot of people on those things as well. So
that's so interesting, because as a hound hunter, and ironically I can wrap that into this whole thing.
Full circle.
For people who don't do it, you're about to learn something.
Full circle.
So our Garmin GPS uses the same radio signal as our communication radios that we've been using, which is a VHF format. So yes, we have to have a ham radio license for that.
Yes.
Well, unless you work for someone that, say, has a farm and they're using it for a farm thing, you don't need a license. Interesting little tidbit there.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
That's for all our farmers out
someone
there.
handed me one and said, "Here, hook this up into your truck." And this is a two-way VHF radio. This is ham radio. You need a license. And they're like, farm. You're one of my employees. I understand. But it was.
We're always. Go ahead.
Well, it was really cool though, because I think the Garmin GPS broadcast somewhere in the 154 000 frequency.
Okay,
and then you have
that's also the same band they use for emergency networks,
which is ironic.
Handheld radios.
Right. So but it's somewhere in that range. So then you got like your group 1, group 2, group 3, and then you have like 2-1, 2-3, 2-4 set up on all of your different collars. That way there's no interference there.
Right.
But the fastest refresh rate is 2.5 seconds. So every 2.5 seconds, you're like say like a handheld walkie or your truck radio, you'd hear something come across. There'd be interference, or you try and key up, and it would all of a sudden your Garmin would go crazy. So like a guy I used to run with had frequency for his channel radio for his group was 154 585. And we'd get interference with our Garmins like you wouldn't believe. But then you just go, 155, 525, and there'd be nothing. It was really interesting that, just that small jump, and you have complete, nullification of any kind of interference between all of these different radio signals that are actually bouncing around in your truck.
Right. Yeah. No. It's funny. It's because it's only in certain bands that do that. Like
right. And Garmin's one of them.
Right.
Well, and then to bring this full circle, I live about, a few miles from Garmin headquarters.
Right. I heard you mention that before.
Yeah, it's a little strange that he brought up this
right,
Garmin
then
band.
you have advents like the ground plane antenna, which don't necessarily boost your output at all, but the receiving, because of how much more plane it covers. With those ground planers, it's incredible how much more you can pick up on the receiving end of that.
Yeah, in the Army we used it was called a plugger, which Garmin kind of based all their stuff off of. All GPS location, and we started using that to aim our artillery, and that was kind of unique because in the military or in artillery we use mils, we don't use degrees, and to get those pluggers plugged down into mils, because mils is accurate within 5 meters, and degrees is accurate within 15 meters. So on a target.
Right, it's similar to using the mil dots on a rifle scope.
Exactly. So
yep.
we, using that plugger is just like using the Garmin's come a long way. I mean, our pluggers were this big, huge, awkward, it seemed like bulletproof case, you're carrying around. And the Garmin's like 10 times better than that.
Well, I'll tell you what. There's this thing that a couple of people have talked about. Are you thinking about? Are you a PhD candidate? Basically, you want to talk about that for real?
Yeah, well, I'm looking to enroll. I was going to enroll at BYU in their PhD program, but the programs they have.
Oh, we might have dropped.
I want to get my PhD in, so
yeah.
I'm looking at other universities right now. I've been accepted into several PhD programs, but I just, I'm 100% service connected disabled, which means, when I got my master's degree, I'm paying off my student loans, I'm getting everything, done. They say, well, now you're 100%. They went and paid off all my student loans. Now I can't afford to go back to school.
Oh.
And it's, but, through our church, there's a program that came up that it's kind of making it possible for me to go back and get my doctorate.
Well,
so
what would it be
I'm
in?
still waiting to hear, the final stuff on that.
What would it be in?
Probably management, organizational behavior, leadership. So
it's incredible.
I have an MBA in accounting, but I have a lot of training in organizational behavior.
Well, then there's no other reason why you don't have the family you have. I mean, it's wonderful. It's
Well,
yeah.
I have to put a lot of it, in how I grew up. I grew up in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Everybody else knows us as Mormons. And so I was active in scouting. I was always active in stuff. Got an Eagle Scout, and then I became black sheep of the family, and then I joined the Army, and but my whole life has been based on service. It's kind of what we teach our kids. And being in service, and then constantly learning. You always want to improve your whole life. You just constantly want to look for improvement. So, my military was great. I loved it. I learned a lot from it. And I also had dual role. In National Guard, we were FEMA before 9/11. So I was actually, I was a Sergeant First Class E7. So I trained in FEMA to be the liaison for all of southern Utah in case of disasters. 9/11 hits, they put me on airport security for a year, and then of course we get Homeland Security. And I don't know if any of you know, I work in the rebar industry, and I have for a lot of years. But when I came back, because I was working in Vegas, living in Utah, and it was after I'd retired, the city mayor, good friend of mine, says, "Hey, I need you to be my emergency manager." So I went and got all my FEMA training to be an emergency manager for the city. And it was all volunteer. So I don't get paid for it. I did that for a number of years. And on top of, working in the rebar industry, starting businesses, I even have a construction company that does concrete. So I'm, constantly stay busy, but the church is one of the things I'm volunteering a lot of time for. And now we do, I'm what they call block captain. We have an emergency management system set up in the church boundary where we live, and it's made up of members and non-members, and I just happen to be a block captain, and I actually communicate on frequency 150A. So when you said that's the frequency we do our emergency check-in every Monday.
Good job, Kegs.
So yeah, it's just, I love this game because I've been able to meet a lot of people, and I've become really good friends with a lot of people. Actually met a cousin. Any of you guys know Underdog?
Yeah.
Underdog.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
That rings a bell.
He flies for. He was in Pups with not too long ago.
Yeah, he's back in Pups now. He fought the last Diamond War.
Yeah, he can fly. Yeah.
War Dogs. But it turns out he and I are cousins.
No way.
Wow.
Yeah, we actually found each other through in Discord, because he saw my last name, and he's like, "Hey, you related to so and so?" And we pull up our genealogy app. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, we share a great grandfather, man. So,
wow.
Yeah, so we've been in contact with each other quite a bit, and yeah, he's a really good guy.
Well, when we were talking before we were recording, I find that fascinating because I'm talking to basically cousins somehow, right? But we released you haven't heard about this, we released that one, we talked to this Lebanese kid that was in Ukraine when the war started. Blows my fucking mind.
Okay.
And there's a guy from Serbia with a different viewpoint, and actually the Russian viewpoint for the most part, Serbian.
I saw part of that.
Yeah, well, he might come on with us and just kind of tell his side of things. So we'll see.
And we call it Serbian. That was that Kosovo?
Yeah, Serbia. So yeah, he's Serbian. He's full on.
You know my ex brother-in-law, friend of mine. He had boots on the ground for the army. He was a sergeant. Had boots on the ground in Kosovo.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
I have a lot of friends that served in Kosovo.
Well, and I don't want to kind of hijack it or hype it up too much, but he's definitely got some interesting viewpoints, and it's like I told him, I'm an agnostic, and if he wants to come on and tell his story, I'd treat him just like anybody else, So,
right.
Well,
and the thing about I have to say about this game in general, you got people that are talking to each other that have become friends through this game that outside would probably be shooting at each other.
Dude, that's the whole point. You nailed it right there, buddy. That was the whole point for me anyway. So I'll talk for me, but I'm pretty sure we can agree.
Well, it's just insane that some kind of for most people, I'd be willing to bet Sky Warriors was what's the word I want? God damn it! It just left my brain.
Escape.
Toxic.
Well, not only that, but just the act of finding it was like a mistake or a coincidence, completely. Shit, come on, brain.
Well, when you put
wires, the wires that go to your mouth need to function properly. Okay, let's try this one more time. It was a completely coincidental download, like something like an off left field type thing, and it's creating a completely neutral space for all these people across the planet to just have civil discourse.
Absolutely.
Like a collective, like a collective type thing. Collective conscience, is that, or consciousness, something like that?
No, nothing like that. It's creating, like I said, a completely neutral area for civil discourse to occur.
Well, I think the voice changes that. So here's the thing.
And it was a completely coincidental thing that most of these people probably downloaded it. 10 million people just went, man, this could be interesting, and now we have this.
Well, and I'm starting to find out that people don't even know about this. Like, if for people that like are out here that one person you think that'll enjoy this, even if it's to laugh at your single episode, maybe share it with them, because like there's so many thousands, millions probably of players that have no idea this exists yet. Yeah. So.
Yeah. No. I mean, this whole thing. I've looked at.
Well, the voice changes.
At people communicating, back and forth. And, here's my buddy, and one guy might be in Saudi Arabia, and his buddy is in, Jerusalem, and it's like, wow, this is awesome, I love how, because, we don't have to agree on everything.
No.
To be, to be diplomatic or to be friendly with one another,
Yep.
You don't always have to agree.
Well, I'm going to go.
And I think we're losing that in today's society.
Yep.
Because somebody says, well, you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, so you can't be friends. Well, why not? Because you disagree on something politically, why can't you be friends?
I can't.
You both like the fly fish.
Yeah, I can't agree more, dude. Honestly, I'll tell you this. What this has become is kind of a weird experiment into being able to be known but still retain anonymity if chosen. Because the voice inflection is just a little bit more than what we see on a screen 23 hours of our day. Or in advertising as we're driving down the highway. Or magazine articles. I mean, we're so bombarded by media. We're not actually communicating with each other at this point. And
right.
Honestly, that wasn't the intent. I don't think this has all been happenstance. Me having to run by kegs, and then next thing you know, we found Duke, we found Perk, and honestly, dude, this is the fact that the two guys that you seen, that kind of had the skirmish. Well, they're cool now. Like they're totally cool now, and that's fascinating by itself. But yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, just to get
right, but that's because there was a neutral place for them to have a civil discourse and realize that they're not as different as they thought they were.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
That's 1,000. Yeah.
Whoever that dude was I got into at that time, Kegs. I can't remember his name. Do you remember his name?
Which time, Dookie?
Which time,
The one-
Dookie?
The one on gave my address, my name, number.
Oh, son of a bitch! That was
Logging on. He kept it.
Oh,
You got doxxed? I didn't know that.
He joined USN just to insult the guys that had been in the military. I flew up on
fuck.
Really?
That was
I can't
wasn't
remember.
it started with a J, didn't it?
Yeah, it was something like that.
It started with it was like Jimbo or Jamal or something fucking off the wall like that.
Yeah, I had to ask Moise. Moise is the historian on stuff like that. Knows everything like that.
Yeah, I can't hardly. I remember it. I remember now, but I can't quite remember who the fuck. It started with a J. I know that for a fact. Well,
Yeah,
I
well,
want to say I know that for a fact, but I've been wrong before.
You're gonna be all right when you calm down, bud. I'm like, I will. That dude got me.
That was hilarious to hear. Wow.
You know, it's funny,
Oh,
as
fuck.
we're talking about this, a dove just flew down and landed in my backyard.
Really?
Yeah. That's no kidding, man.
You're a blessed man. I'm just saying.
It wasn't a white dove, but it was a dove, you know, simple piece.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of funny, though. I don't know, because we've never really been down this road. Maybe we can do a actual podcast together, fellas. Like, we'll get Perk in on it, but it would be interesting to get our perspectives on what the ride's been like. Because, I mean, we spend a lot of stuff, obviously putting it together, but I don't think we've taken the time to really talk about what it's been like for each of us.
What, doing the podcast together?
Yeah, about doing the podcast together, man. Dude, we've put out over 85 hours of content. And with Spotify and stuff, all those old files, we put in some time and subjects, really. There's stuff that's opened my mind. It's crazy.
Well, that was go ahead, Surf. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you again.
No, you're fine. I'm just saying that, you know, there's a lot of stuff, you know, that you guys have put out that, you know, I think opened up a lot of eyes, you know, and getting perspective from these guys, you know, in Australia and Britain, UK, and, you know, I'm really looking forward to seeing Abu on here.
He's
just a remarkable guy.
He will be on. It's his schedule right now. And
Yeah, I saw that.
yeah, he will be on though.
I'm really looking forward to that. You know, he's very impressive. But you see, you know, this game has just brought so many people together. I mean, from everywhere. You know, and you know, different backgrounds, different. You know, even in. And it's surprisingly how many retired military old farts there are in this game.
I can honestly say, dude, that's what it started this podcast, because my whole idea was just to like record people and document their space and time at that moment, like a time capsule, like a virtual time capsule. And then we ran across Kegs and then Duke, of course, and then it just rolled.
Yeah, well,
bro.
you got a hold of a drunk Kegs on a Thursday night, and it was like, oh fuck it, let's just do it.
Yeah, it's not even so much it's how lucky, like how random.
Well, and the funny thing is, everyone thinks that we had all kinds of planning. I was talking to a kid on English chat the other day, and he's like, yeah, you guys must have spent so much time putting this all together. I said, son, you want me to be honest with you?
Mm-mm.
Me
Zero.
and Cool were BSing one night. I was shit-faced. He was probably shit-faced, and that's how episode 1 happened.
The very first one, that's the one that says Patreon release or whatever. That was the night that we kind of talked afterwards, and the very next one, it says Cool-Kegs, the beginning. That's the very first podcast. So
Right.
Yeah,
Like I said, it started with 2 drunk fuckheads on the phone one night, and ta-da, here we are. You know, how many episodes later?
But here's the thing.
We got to be up to 100 by now. I don't even know.
Oh, no, dude. Well, total projects, probably closer to 200, but on YouTube, I think it's like I don't know. I'll have to look. It's not quite that many. It's like 60 on YouTube, but.
Well, right, but I'm saying we didn't get to YouTube till what, 2 months ago?
2 months
Not
ago.
even?
2 months ago. Yeah.
Oh, I'm just saying we were just rocking Spotify and Podcastle before that.
Oh yeah, we have over 200.
We did that for a while.
Yeah, we have over 200. Well, not podcasts, but projects total. Yeah. I don't know. I kind of like being able to have.
We've done these long forms with people.
53 times. This will be the 54th time.
Content sometimes. I got all sorts of crazy content out there for y'all.
Yeah, and then you have Dookie, the mastermind of the maniacal. This is fantastic stuff coming out of that brain. I love it.
Well, I was going to say, like, take for example Dookie, right? So, I don't know what people think, but so Duke writes most of our skits and does the voices. He does the news, top tens. Were you ever like theatrical or anything in life or high school or anything like that?
I was my sister would con me into singing karaoke every now and again.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell him, man. Like it's been surprising himself, and it's just pretty neat to have a talent to be able to do that and not know it.
Well, y'all told me I was funny, and I didn't think I was funny. Then everybody else starts telling me I'm funny and laughing at me, and I'm like, I didn't know I was funny. I just thought it was dry humor nobody really got. So I didn't really.
Well, we finally caught up to you then, because you're funny.
As under the ass end of a Ford Bronco where they circled the problem, doing backlash on a rear end, which I won't even begin to go down the comedic roads of that particular punchline.
Sponsored by Cosby in a Can.
Oh my God! And for everyone who doesn't know where that came from, for me anyway,
the video,
was,
the first part of it's
and
I've got more.
Well, I first heard it on Zip Ties and Bias Plies, the starting fluid video that he put out, which was hilarious.
Well, I put up almost an hour worth of manga. It's that video's out, or that podcast is out.
I completely forgot we decided to nickname my buddy Mongo. It fits him.
Hey,
it
boys,
our scheme.
Boys, our scheme is working perfectly.
No, he's a truck driver.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's
he's just a
goofy
redneck from the UP that drives truck for a living.
Ain't
the brightest bulb on the tree, but
we refer to the Marine corporals as Mongo.
Yeah. Yeah. That's okay. No, he was a firefighter for 16 years.
Jarhead too, so
Jarhead.
Oh, my old man was Air Force, so I didn't have to deal with none of that kind of stuff. How many crayons did you guys go through at Christmas time?
I don't know. My grandpa was in false teeth by then. They get stuck.
Well, no. So just to be clear, Mongo, that Bill video, yeah, he was a firefighter for like 16 years too. I forgot about that. So he's a good dude.
Yep.
Definitely check out.
He's a great dude. Like honestly, if I need to call someone and either like I'm really in a jam and I need help and I need to call like the first person I know is like, all right, I'm on my way. It's going to be him. Or if I need to hide a body, it's also going to be him.
And honestly, the one that I released,
he's just one of those dudes.
The one I released is a little bit edited because we went way too long because we were all having a good time. Anyway, if you can get through to about the first, 14 minutes, it gets even better. That's all I can say. So, but yeah, Bill, I'm going to call him Bill Mongo from now on. So
that'll do.
Yep.
But yeah, fucking.
Obviously not his real name.
I actually have a buddy who just ended his contract. He did what was it, 8.5, almost 9 years in the Marine Corps. And wow, hard to believe it's been that long. But yeah, for last Christmas, I swung by his house on my way home from work that night, and knocked on the door, and he opens it up, hey buddy, how's it going? And I hand him a box and tied a little bow and shit. Merry Christmas, fuckhead, And he opens it up and it's a 96 pack of Crayola crayons.
That kind of reminds me. Hey, Surf, do you listen to or watch on YouTube Habitual linecrosser?
Oh, did y'all
I
see it?
haven't.
You haven't?
No.
We got it. We got to get you
You got
hooked
some
up.
catching up to do, sir.
Yeah.
I guess I do.
Yeah, it's great. He's what is his actual title? What is it? He's a
He trained. He works with
missile defense, but
missile defense. He trains guys in missile defense and stuff.
he's like a savant or something of some kind apparently. But he trains them on systems and stuff for missile defense, like Patriots and stuff like that. MLS,
AMRAMs and whatnot.
All the fun stuff.
Yeah, basically he has to learn. He has to understand ballistics.
He's got some comedic genius though, because he's been doing things back and forth with like all the countries in the world and Russia and the whole bullshit.
They're like
hilarious.
they're like 2 to 3 minute skits too.
I'm gonna have to watch that for sure.
Have y'all checked out the early content when he roasts all the armed forces?
Oh yeah. And
No, I haven't seen that yet.
I've seen his Cribs video
man,
too.
it's funny. They talk about Navy like it's a phenomenon. Navy should just get this, that, every corner. Got CBs that get you out of everything. And all they do is drink and build shit.
He's just a natural comedian.
Sounds like Stevie.
Say what?
It's funny because I've worked Joint Task Force, so I work really close with all branches, and and man, we joke a lot. You know, when I was doing that, working in the embassy, one of the petty officers came up to the Marine sergeant that was working at Guard Post 1 and said, "Hey, you know why they put Marines on ships?" And
Ooh, for the answer, be looking out for part 2 for the podcast. This is cool. We're out.